Kia ora and welcome to Constellations and All That. I'm your host, Tracy Cartwright, and together we will be exploring the world of family constellations with facilitators and clients from around the world, looking at different perspectives and experiences in the work, having a cup of tea and just chatting with some friends around their experiences in constellations. We'd love for you to join us. I hope that you enjoy this series as much as I have loved making it. Kia ora everyone, and welcome to Constellations and All That. Today I have the pleasure of talking to my friend and colleague, Jenny Gibbons. Hey Jenny, how are you?
Kia ora, Tracy. I'm very well. How are you?
Great. If you're watching this, I hope people can see this on their screens. Jenny's actually out in a paddock and the horses are running around, and we're just going to change the angle of the camera so we can see them. They're coming up to the screen to be in front of us. They might be coming in. Let's share a little bit about what you do, Jenny, so people understand why we're so excited about the horses being on the podcast.
Yeah, I was just holding the dog because the dog will bite the horse and then there'll be a lot more movement. So what I do is work with my horses to help people with trauma. That's a simple version.
Beautiful.
This is Mystique. So she's come in. She's Connection to say hello.
Hello, Mystique. Mystique is a beautiful white. Is there a name for what sort of horse she is?
She's an Arab.
Yeah, a white Arab.
Yeah. In therapy terms, Trace, she's Connection. So what I would be looking for if you were the client is that connections come into the picture straight away.
Well, the rear end of it has.
So are we at the arse end of connection?
It's all right. She's turned around. That's all good.
And then what I do is I look for where people are standing with the horse. Like if you get little kids, they'll go straight to the heart area. And most adults go to the head area. And they'll stand there because a lot of people are in their heads. So I can see, within the first 5 or 10 minutes what's happening for a person. Because a lot of the time, from a psychology perspective, people, they land with a whole lot of notes and a lot of assumptions that people have made, particularly youth coming through the youth justice system.
Yeah.
But at the heart of it is who they really are. And I think that's one of the reasons I've been successful in what I've done, because I look at who they are from a heart level.
Yeah. So for those who are listening, what do you call the modality that you like? Because there's equine therapy, but that's not quite what you do, is it?
No, I initially trained in equine therapy with a gala. So a gala is a modality from the States, and that's well recognised around the world. And with that modality, I'm the only advanced equine specialist in this country. But what I got from that was that the horses are always doing their own constellation anyway. So it is horse constellations. And then when I met Mark, when we were at Orongamai, it was just a natural progression from the horse constellation work to doing the people constellation work to doing it together.
Absolutely. And that's where you and I met. The first time we met, I had a constellation with you, with your horses.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
And
Did you want to talk about that or not?
Well, I wouldn't consider myself a horse person.
Yeah.
In fact, they freaked me right out. And I had no real reason why. There was no reason that I know of why. But, just used to little animals, I suppose. But I had asked the question, it was around my business. And so I chose the biggest horse that you had to represent.
So just Trace, this is just unique self. Sorry for interrupting. But as you're talking about that, unique self has come into play.
Hello. Beautiful brown and white horse, sort of a chocolatey colour. One of the horses I chose was for business, and one was for my fear of stepping up into the business. And I think I chose the biggest horse to be the fear, and the smallest horse to be business, because I thought, well, it'd be easier to connect with the smaller one. Well, I showed up was a little bit like a skit from a Benny Hill movie, and I'm walking around the paddock trying to connect with the small horse who was just ignoring me, walking around, and I'm tootling off after it. And the one that I'd chosen for fear was right behind me, and it was the big horse, and it kept following me around. And as soon as I turned around and looked at it, it was so soft and so gentle. It was my fear of stepping into the business. That's what it was. And I had a really beautiful connection with her. And then I turned around and my business was walking towards me. From that moment on, I didn't have a problem, stepping into my business, but also with the horses either. It was beautiful. It's a really beautiful experience. And you held it so lovely because you could see that I was that I had some fear around it, around the horses. So yeah. So
But that's also what a lot of people do bring into sessions is fear, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And it's fear of moving forward, it's fear of where they're at, it's a natural human thing to have fear. But the other thing that we can all do is move beyond our fear.
Yeah, and my understanding is that the horses, because they can read energy so much more, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. They have a much bigger heart resonance than
yeah,
us mere human beings.
yeah. The electromagnetic field that they have is 15 times larger than a human heart. So this is the scientific way of describing it, is that that electromagnetic field means for us as human beings, it changes our physiological being. So somebody with trauma will come in, and you've seen people with trauma, it's like they're really tense, their whole body, everything is tense. And when they come here, it's like they can just drop into relaxing and breathing. And from that, what happens with the trauma is it's going round and round in their brain. Again, a simple way of talking about it. But then when you come into the heart space, you can actually move that trauma in the way that they're thinking about it.
Yeah. Help that connection too, right?
Yeah,
That reconnecting, because otherwise it's looping, but it's not connecting to anything. It's just looping.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's one of my triggers is when people talk about having been triggered by their trauma. I feel that if you move through your trauma properly and integrate it with all the different bodies of yourself, like got the human body, the emotional body, the spiritual bodies, different bodies of energy, but in the integration of all of that is when you move beyond the trauma.
Yeah. Absolutely. So can you tell us what's going on in the field at the moment? For those who can't see this, there are higher levels and lower levels within the paddock.
Yeah.
The horses are at different spaces.
So this is the earth plane. So when we're working with someone, if they're on the earth plane, that's a good thing. But then if you move, is in the higher self. Because my belief system with the constellation work is that we have a higher self. We have our soul self, but we have our higher self. So when the horses are on the higher self, that's what's playing out in the field for the person.
Okay. Yeah.
So the higher self of the uniqueness is what's playing out with Tom at the moment.
Beautiful.
And self-acceptance, which is indie, because we work energetically, like we've mapped a whole thing out, there's a medicine circle that we're working on, but there's also a chakra system. So indie, which is self-acceptance, is just sitting sort of in the heart area as well. And then mystique, mystique is in the connection. So the connection at the moment is in the place of new beginnings. So with the medicine circle, there's 4 different areas of new beginnings. So when you move over from the generational area, which is over that side, into this part here, that's when the soul and the human level are connecting in the place of new beginnings.
Amazing to watch them, just to tune in to the person and to see them do their actions, or just to feel, to witness them doing their part for humanity.
What I love, Trace, is it's just pure energy. Because, when you facilitate every person, I mean, we work in the field of consciousness and the field of energy. but everyone still brings their own stuff into it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But with the horses, it's just pure energy. And that's what I really love. And also because it's just all from a heart space. And then they're almost, turn it that way, they're almost lining up here with unique self being in connection. So in the middle is actually the connection spot, self-acceptance and truth. And then we've got connection, the horse, and the place of new beginnings. And also, Trace, the one that you switched into, which I think was your business, he's up there as well.
Yeah. Yep, there in the background.
Yeah, so he's 34 now, which is really old for a horse. An old horse is termed old at 15. Yeah, so he's pretty much ancient.
Yeah.
And also Venus, which is our other horse, the black and white one behind the barrel, that's love. So when I'm thinking about how this is working and playing out, is strength and love is in connection from the higher self.
So tell us, Jenny, how do people come to you? How do people hear about you and get to work with you?
Most of my work is with government departments like Oranga Tamariki, Ministry of Education. We do work for Māori Land, Community Connections. We've got a website, so you can go on the website and then just contact me. But one of the things that I do, which is I think different from a lot of constellation work, is my minimum requirement usually is about 26 sessions when I'm working with a client, because I enjoy working with trauma, like severe trauma.
Yeah.
And what we do then is work through it with them. Usually it might be a year. It depends also on where they're situated, because sometimes people have to move as well. One woman I got, she'd had been raped, tortured, and held hostage, and we had 4 weeks to work with her.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, but we did it. And that, again, she mainly worked with Ollie, a big guy.
And you often work with children. I remember you telling me that you really enjoy working with children.
Yeah, the youngest that we've had, she was 3, and I didn't know if I could work with a 3-year-old. And she came up and she had a whole lot of, people come and they have all these different labels that have been put on them. And one of them was about abandonment. And she attachment orders, and she was so connected closely to a caregiver. And when she came up here and she sussed us all out and all the rest of it, and I said to her, just because being away from the caregiver was a big deal, and I just said, because in the other room there's a bed, and I said, oh, you could always stay here. And she went, yeah, I'd be okay staying with you. And the Wairoa Tracy and this kid is so strong. She was so amazing. And then we worked with her over, I think, 12 months. She would come in monthly for a constellation session. And, the intergenerational trauma was huge in the family system. And she would come in and she would pick the different representatives, and then she would go upstairs onto the little loft and she would lie in bed and play on her thing. And then when the energy would shift, she would come in, check it out, sort of nod, and then go back and play on her thing. So, that child's life is forever changed. And
Yeah.
who she was and how she was is huge. Like, I think she's 5 or 6 now, but one of the ways that she regulates herself is she goes into the bathroom after school and she'll do a haka. Like, that's her way of regulating herself, like sort of removing all the stuff of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But when she came in the first session, kept saying to the kid, she was really freaked out that the horse was trying to lick her. And this was Cruz, who's truth. And she kept saying, the horse is trying to lick me, the horse is trying to lick me. And we were both like, we don't know. Like, the horse wasn't trying to lick her. There was incongruencies going on. And then when we put the pieces of the puzzle together, at that point in time with her family, the whānau, she had to go into a marae and have regular contact with them. And the person that was actually licking her was her 15-year-old brother. He was French kissing her.
Yeah.
So that child has avoided, hopefully, all of that stuff,
Fantastic.
because the horse was trying to lick her, but really she was being groomed for sexual abuse at 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the other stories was that we had this young person in who was maybe 13 at the time, and when Oranga Tamariki rang, I thought that before meeting him, what they were saying, I thought that he would either die from suicide, end up in a youth justice system, going to jail and probably forevermore, or end up in a gang. And we brought him in the first session, and the caregiver, the person that dropped him off, she turned up in high heels, which we live on a farm. So it sort of showed where she was at, because most of the caregivers will come in with a client. And she also had a van full of boys from the same institution, and they were just jeering at him because he was going to equine therapy. And then I was working with Geraldine at the time, and she was trying to get all the information from the care person about what was going on for this young person, and all she could say was how angry he was, and that he would just destroy everything, and the police would have to come all the time. That was the story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so in the first session, we got him to say why he was there or why he was coming, and he was coming because the social worker was going to give him a cap. And what he did is, you can see the equipment over there, is he built a cap on the ground, which was really creative. It was really cool, like $90 cap or whatever. That's what he was coming for. And Tomahawk, who's standing right in the middle of the picture, kept going into the cap that he'd built and getting the things and throwing them all over the place. And what was happening was at the place, the institute where he lived, is the kids would jeer him and they would just poke him in, emotionally and whatever they were doing to him. And then he would just explode. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of the stuff that was going on, is that he was 15 at the time. Like, he really didn't belong. You talk about, constellation work and belonging. He didn't belong anywhere. And then in the second session, we took him down because I wanted him to feel that, like, he could be part of this, of what we do. And in the second session, so this guy over here, Cruz, was a foal. He's only a baby. And Mystique is his mum, was over there, and she's a really good mum. And at that point, we'd only had probably myself, Abby, and the vet in the paddock with those two, because it's a mummy, it's like a nursery, so you don't take everybody in. And I wanted to take this young person in just to have a look, just to see what we do. And Mystique just came straight up to us, to him, because he'd stood off by himself a little bit. She came straight up and she just hugged him, like just wrapped herself around him.
So
And
that's
then
the mother
Cruz,
horse.
that's the mother horse, yeah. And then Cruz just came up to the other side. So she put him between her and her foal. This is someone who's meant to be really angry and really explosive, right? And then the light bulbs went off for me that, like, he wasn't dangerous, because she would have never have done that.
Yeah.
And then we drove down, they were in a bottom paddock. And then when I got up at the top, and I said to him, thank you for letting me experience that. That was a beautiful moment. And honestly, it's like a light bulb went off on him, inside of him. Someone saw him.
Yeah. One of the biggest things, isn't it, for and particularly when you're young, to be seen.
Yeah. And that's what I think, with all of us, is that we want to be seen and we want to be witnessed. One of the other youth that I went into, and I saw him at Epony Youth Centre, he came out, and the thing that was really special to him was the photographs of his life, and that he actually had them in a secured place, because in that place, if you had your photographs out, someone would probably turn around and rip them up just to hurt you. So he went and got his secure possessions, which was his photographs, and showed me all the photos of his family.
This is the same young boy.
A different one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That one, he came in the first session, that particular one, and they said that he didn't like talking to people. And as soon as he saw me, because I just wear my boots and tights and a vest, they start talking. And then his first session, Mystique was in the middle, so Connection was in the connection area. So they were all saying that he didn't want to be there, but I could tell from the horses that he did.
Yeah.
And then Frank at that point, which is the other horse that you worked up, almost picked up the halter and gave it to him. Frank was really trying to help connect him. And then what really connected him in that first session was that we'd clipped the horses. So he liked art, and we do like circular movements with it. And he went up and actually touched the horses on how, and then we started talking about that. So the
Okay.
horses are the ones that are doing the work and making the connections. That particular young man, he did I think maybe 10 sessions before he had to move away. And in the end session we do a review of like what the session was about and what he learnt from it and da da da. And so he, like, they're saying that he didn't like it, and all the stuff that they thought were projecting onto him. And every session he remembered what he had done and what he had learnt.
Wow.
And then I said, what about the first session? And he sort of did a blank, and I went, nothing, right? And he goes, and then we both laughed because we both remembered what had happened,
Yeah.
Yeah. And when he left, we made up he gave us permission to take photos because he wanted photos as well. And then we made up a photo book of all the different sessions and all the different things that he'd learnt, so I could take that with him.
That's beautiful. And a reminder for us too, the things that like photographs and how special they are and how much they can impact someone. A lot of people don't have that, the memories. So
Yeah,
having the photographs can bring back the memories of the good times as well.
yeah.
So what's happening in the background there, Jenny?
So we're looking at connection, and she's moved up. Ideally, she would move up to where Tomahawk is going, because then there'd be connection and unique self in the place. That's the second place of new beginnings over there. And then self-acceptance and truth. It's almost like they're forming a circle around the connection area, but it's still the external part of the connection area.
Tomahawk looks like a statue, isn't moved. So jumping back into my questions, can you tell the listeners how you came about to learn constellations? How were you introduced to it?
We were at Arongamai Marae, and Mark Johnson was there from America. And Mark was quite a unique looking person. He was
Mm.
almost albino. He had really white, pale skin and blue eyes. And I hadn't met him at that point, but he came rushing up to me, like really rushing up to me, and said to me, you must come to my workshop. It'll change your life. And I thought, oh, whatever, weirdo.
Who's this weirdo telling me
Yeah,
to
who is this
telling me
weirdo
what to do?
telling me what to do? And then I went to the workshop anyway. And what happened in the workshop is I was just observing, like, the constellation process. And Mark was really good how he did it. He was really professional putting it together. This young, well, not young, sort of teenage young adult came in, and she was late. And then her nana sort of like hustled her in, how nanas do, like, just come in and
Mhm.
sit down. And so I observed that, and I thought, oh yeah, that's nice. And then so then I did I watched, observed the process, and I thought that was interesting. Then at the end of the hui, as we were saying goodbye to everybody, the nana was there again, and I got up to the nana and just burst into tears. And I just stopped crying, because on that somatic level, I had really missed my nana because I was whāngai.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so seeing that happen was like it was something deep inside of me that was missing. And then Petra was behind me, and she's a doctor of psychology, and she was like, oh my goodness, what's happened to Jenny? And then Nana just, like, as nanas do, waved her on. don't worry about it. I've got this, you know. Then I stopped crying and then I was fine. But that was the power of the work. You know,
Yeah,
I didn't do a constellation. I didn't even know that was sitting there for me.
beautiful, beautiful. And for
Yeah,
those who don't know, when Jenny mentioned whāngai is an in-family adoption.
yeah. And yeah, so then Mark would come over, I think once a year. He was doing a dissertation in Indigenous wisdom.
Mhm.
Yeah. So every year he would come over and then I'd train with him. And then obviously we were doing online meetings. And then I went to America and did some work with him. And yeah, so that was the
Fantastic.
beginning.
Yeah, and that's how I met you. I met you through the same marae, and also Mark was my introduction to family constellations as well. So listeners have heard that story before. So yeah, it's a great connection, and we're heading back there in a couple of weeks' time, aren't we, to do some deeper level
Yeah,
of work with the advanced facilitators, which is going to be amazing.
yeah.
As
And
I
just Trace watching Marguerite, was it last night we had the meeting?
the
Yeah,
night before.
night before, is like she really, if you haven't met her, she really sits in a heart space
Mm,
and that changes the frequency of everything.
mm,
You know, throughout that meeting that she had, she just kept going deeper and deeper, and I've never seen it with a human being before like that.
mm.
Yeah,
Be beautiful to see her have that connection or that experience with the horses
yeah,
because of their ability to hold that space in the heart too, hey?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And also, remember Midge was the one that started Orongwai, that hui, and the name of it was Homai Huatua, which to me represented to give is to receive.
Right, yeah,
And that theme and what's happened from that hui, well, we used to go annually, is it just kept happening. Like I say to different people, how did you hear about us? And they said, oh, through Orongamai.
yeah.
Yeah. And I
So
just, sorry, you go.
I was going to say, so how many, I'm jumping all over here with my questions because there's just so many things popping up, but how many clients would you see in a week or in a day, roughly?
It depends. They show up to.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes we've got provision for probably 3 or 4, depending what time we're starting. And then we have our group sessions as well. So at the moment we can fit 15 people in our room, but we are getting a bigger room because
Yeah.
we're going to do bigger workshops.
And can you explain a little bit about that? Because that's using the horses, but also using humans.
Yeah. So then it's the traditional constellation work with people.
Hmm.
Can you see what he's doing?
Yeah. Just to interrupt the conversation there, the horse is now rolling on the grass, rubbing his or her back,
Is
his back, having a great old time. Which one's that?
That's truth.
Truth. There you go. Truth was letting it all hang out.
Yeah. But what you just said, Trace, letting it all hang out, if a client has had sexual abuse
Yeah.
and will walk up to Ollie, who's the big guy, the one that you worked with initially,
Yeah.
he'll hang his penis out. And it happened with us with a young client who just started recently. And she said to me, said, oh, why is he hanging his penis out? And I said, oh, do you want me to tell you the truth? And she said, yes. And I said, well, it normally means that someone's had sexual abuse and it hasn't been resolved. And she told me that she'd been raped when she was 11. So that was in the first 15 minutes of meeting a new client.
Yeah. You can't hide anything from the horses.
No.
Beautiful. Let's come back to that conversation we
Yeah.
were having
Oh,
before
sorry.
it started rolling around. But thank you, Truth, for doing that and letting it all hang out. The conversation was around having humans and using the horses at the same time, where you do traditional constellations, but you also use horses at the same time.
Yeah. So with that, it's because the horses can't speak, and some people really want to know what's happening within the family system. So that's why we use the people, because the people can talk about what's happening. And so the horses are doing what they do in the paddock, and we're doing either in the room, or if it's sunny, we're outside, and we're doing a traditional constellation piece.
And that's not every time, is it? Because often it's just you're working with a one-on-one client and the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks we do one-on-ones, and then on a Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month, normally we do the group work. But sometimes I have other groups in as well at other times.
Okay. And you've got one coming up shortly.
Oh yeah, we're doing work with the ACC, sensitive claims, and that means if you're registered with a sensitive claim, you can come to this group work. And it's
Okay.
over, I think we're doing it December. There's one in December, one in January, and then one in February.
And is that if someone was to come along to that, are they guaranteed a piece of work, or they may, like as in often in a constellation workshop, you're not guaranteed a piece of work, but witnessing can be healing anyway.
It's not guaranteed because in a day, I mean, we can probably get through maybe 5,
Mm,
pieces of work.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
what we're also doing is, because we always have a team, there'll be somebody like Elena who can go and do an individual piece of work with the horses. Like she'll just go and be with the horses. Like we'll have horses up there, and even just, someone might have done a piece of work and then they go away and sit with the horses, and then a whole lot of other stuff will come up as well. So it won't be guaranteed, but over the 3 sessions, the 3 different days, I think we should be able to get through everybody.
Magical. So
Mm.
if someone signs up, do they come to all 3 days or they can come to just one?
I think we discussed it with Larry, they can come to just one, but ideally they'd come to all 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
What a wonderful process.
And the other thing that I think is really important with trauma trace is doing the somatic work as well. Like we do miri, and
Yeah.
because the trauma stays in the body, and if you're not getting it out of the body, and if you might have resolved it in your brain and how you're thinking about it, but it's really like it stays in your body.
Yes, it's very important to have that body work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the bodies get painful.
See, now
Okay.
it's like they're in four different places of new beginnings.
And so you mentioned earlier that you used the wheel, the medicine
Yeah.
wheel. So where they are placed now, does that have a significance?
Well, if we said that truth is in the place of the soul human connection, and Tomahawk's been in there, are the first beginnings over there, like a statue from
He
the
so is
word
a
go.
statue. He's doing a great
Yeah.
job.
And then Mystique, which is connection, is in the heart area. And
Hmm.
then Indy's self acceptance. When they come to the west, which she nearly is at, that's when the circle is complete.
Right. Okay. It's fascinating to watch. So, um, and particularly when you're guiding it and talking about what you can see and feel and the resonance of the field. And I'm also really interested in the clouds, how the clouds have been changing behind, because at one
Oh,
point
yeah.
it looked like a face in the clouds. There was like two really definite eyes
Yeah.
overlooking the whole thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now
people talk about, sorry, Trace, I interrupted you. What else did you say?
I was going to say, now it looks like an elephant. I can see an elephant's trunk. And anyway, I have a
And
good
I love
imagination.
elephants. Yeah, no, I love elephants. So. But there's a difference in being here, and if people want to take their shoes off and put their feet on the ground, or, sometimes they might just want to sit and journal or whatever it is that they want to do. It's not like sitting in an office and somebody telling you what they think is best for you. Because
Hmm.
for me, we all come from like this universal place, wherever you want to think that it is, and we all have what we need to get us to the next place where we want to be. And I don't like the word healer or therapist or whatever, because I'm a conduit and I provide a space, but you're the only person that can heal yourself.
So, are there any other people that you know of that are doing anything similar to what you do in Aotearoa?
Not that I've seen, not the way that
Hmm.
we're doing it. There's
Yeah.
people doing equine therapy, but I haven't seen people doing equine therapy and constellation work. And we also specialise in working from a Te Ao Māori perspective, and I think that makes a huge difference as well.
Yeah.
Because for me, we're all connected. You know, when we talk about belonging, I belong to two different family systems, but my real belonging, like this is for Elena and I, this is work, but this is where we also come. The Mystique's now laying down in the heart space.
The heart
This
space.
is, yeah, where we come, like for me, and you're working with people, but it's just such a beautiful way of working. And at the end of the day, like I feel really soul sated, like it's my soul gets satisfaction. It's not like going to work, you know?
That's right. They say love your job, and you've got the perfect job for yourself there.
Yeah.
You've created this amazing place for people to come, to connect, to find their way towards healing and coming back to themselves.
Yeah. And that's really what it's all about, is coming back to yourself. And also you being your unique best, because there's only one of you. You
That's
know,
right.
don't the world that we live in now, there's all this externalization of you must buy this or you must do this. The real happiness is within yourself.
Yeah, it was so interesting that you say that. We've just come back from Mexico, and you see the influence of other cultures coming into these places, and then the people are trying to fit in or wanting to be like that. And there seems to be a loss of their own identity
Yeah,
because they're trying so hard to be to fit into a different box.
yeah. But that's where, you know, with people that come here, I really encourage them to know who they are and where they're from. Because part of that belonging is, for a lot of us, we've come from other countries. You know, we might be Pacifica or Māori or whatever, but, you know, I'm also French, German, English, Irish, and Scottish.
Yeah. And you know, that's a really foreign concept for people too, sometimes.
Yeah.
That whole idea of who am I?
Now self acceptance is rolling in the place of new beginning.
That's not the same horse as before. It was truth before,
No,
wasn't it?
that is truth. We call him Fat Boy, as in PHAT, but he also is quite chunky. But we love him in a chunky way. This is Indy, Trace. She's our lead mare. She's the boss horse.
And she's self-acceptance.
Yeah. And they've all got their names usually through clients a lot of the time. Like this lady was doing, this is early on, she was doing a constellation with the horses and also with the equipment and all the rest of it. And you know, her story was horrendous. It was really bad. Everything that was going on. And we were listening to it thinking, wow, that's a lot. And then she sat down in the middle of it. And then Indy came up, and Indy doesn't come up to everyone all the time. She's not like Cruz. Indy came up and just sniffed her and just stood with her. And she said, if this horse can accept me, I can accept myself.
Well, that's beautiful. So where do you see this going, Jenny? What do you see going forward?
Well, as part of ANSCI, I would really love to see this work throughout our country, you know, and the court systems. Just because when we started doing the horse work, if I said I was doing equine therapy or whatever, people would think it was RDA,
Back up your horse. What is RDA?
riding for the disabled.
Righty-hos. Okay, carry on.
So that's a different modality. That's
Yeah.
with people, usually if they have either physical or emotional, you'd say disabilities, but then you could say
Mhm.
abilities, you know,
Challenges.
challenges, yeah, is that they have them on really quiet ponies, and they might even not be able to walk, but they can have them on the horse, and the movement of the horse is the movement of walking. So it helps them physically. So that's what people would think initially when we started doing this work. And then, so now if I was at a shop or something, I said, blah, people know what I'm doing. So do you know what I mean? It's shifted and it's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I would like to see, not only with the horse work, but also with the constellation work. But I'm also very, in this country, I just feel that we really need to look at doing it from a Te Ao Māori perspective, where we're in connection with everything, you know? That for me underlines as the foundation of my work.
Yeah, that's true.
Because people talk, I've been on lots of maraes and people will say they're pepeha, but when you know the awa and you know the mana and you know, do you know what I mean? You know the whenua, it's a different feeling. And in that feeling, I mean, we've got to look after this planet first and foremost, as well as ourselves.
And I think that using or working with the horses, because of my experience of trauma with with the layers has
Yeah,
been for myself, that whole complete disconnection to self. So
yeah,
if I was so disconnected to myself, I could be a little bit hyper focused on something, or I could be completely disconnected to everything around me, and it would shift and change at the time.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so even the concept of being connected to everything was just like at times really foreign, and at other times it was incredibly known in me. I could feel it, but it was also really overwhelming.
Yeah. But do you remember when you could be in your body in connection?
Mm. As I started to call the parts of myself back.
Yeah.
And yeah, being in nature helps that, and being present in my awareness of self.
And that's again, like it's really simple things to do, like to look after ourselves. Sometimes if it's been a big day here, I might just go and walk down the beach, walk barefoot down the beach and go and have a swim. Like that's my part of my self-care, and I drink good water. We have really good water, eat healthy food. It's really simple things that you can do to look after yourself. Can you see Mystique?
The white
Like
one,
she's yeah, the white one, she's in the heart area, Trish. She's just like when I see that, there's some deep work that's going on.
yeah, she's rolling around. So that's the third horse. Oh, she stood up now. She's being watched. That was the third horse to be rolling around. Is
Yeah.
that usual in the field of?
No, it's unusual. There's a lot of shifting and changing happening.
Hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you find that like the weather also plays a part in it? So if you've got quite an overcast day or a rainy day, how do the horses respond in that? Do they respond differently in that time or?
And they live outside, so they're used to being outside in the weather all the time anyway. But it was a story with Mark when we had one of our in the beginning, like years ago, an international conference here, just a little one with some Aboriginal people.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady was like a scout, somebody that worked in nature anyway, tracker, yeah. So when we did the session, I said to her, it's probably going to rain. Are you okay with being outside? And she goes, yeah, I'll be fine. And this is honest, like you couldn't stage it, right? Is that because their stories can be really horrendous, like
Mm.
so bad. They get taken off the street, raped, and then they have to marry their rapist, lots of stuff anyway. And just the weather, like this big storm came in, like huge, huge storm. And I thought, well, she said she's all right, and I'm fine to sit out in the storm. We always have our big jackets and stuff. And the horses were fine, but the horses were sort of hunkering in around us. And she was telling me the story, but I couldn't actually hear it because the wind and the rain and everything was so bad. And then she finished the story, and this is no baloney, but then the clouds parted and the sun shone down on us.
Wow. Beautiful. So she was able to the field was able to hear her.
Yeah. And I
Wow.
think just that she could be heard and she could tell a story,
Mm.
and I didn't have to know every detail. Because as well, we'd been working with her doing constellations before, and then she did some horsework, so I did have an idea of what was going on. Yeah, but it's
Wow.
just been witness, like we talked about before.
Yeah. The tomahawk's holding a really good position there, still standing like a statue.
Yeah, and connection's gone to him. So unique self and connection are in the place of new beginnings. And can you do that one? And then truth and self acceptance have lined up over here as well. But Trace, it was also funny when we started because we were trying to get everything set up because I'd gone into the generational area. And then I don't know if they heard your voice or what happened, but they all came galloping into this area.
I saw
So like,
that.
oh, we needed, right?
Here we go. The filming has started. Let's join them. Let's
Yeah.
join the podcast. That's beautiful. If you were to meet someone at a barbecue and you talked about constellations in your own lingo, how do you describe it?
With the horse constellations, the horses show me externally what the person is feeling internally.
That was nice and brief.
Apparently, if you're really good, I've been to more than one conference. If you're really good at what you can describe it on a postage stamp.
Right. This shit works.
So, Trace, how would you describe traditional constellation work then?
How would I describe traditional constellation work?
Yeah.
It is helping to discover what is hidden beneath an issue that may or may not have begun with you. That's how I
So
describe
then,
it.
if we were at a barbecue and had the issue, then I would ask if I'm in a relationship and it's not working, is that considered the issue?
Well, I guess it's up to the individual what they consider to be their issue. So, if it's been relationship after relationship, or they've tried everything they possibly could, looked at different angles and nothing seems to be working, then recommend a constellation
But why would you recommend it from other things?
to see what's hidden within your own system. We call it our blind spot, to find your blind spot. And I guess the horses do that in their horsey way without it having to be spoken.
Yeah. Because for me, everything is energy,
It
and that's
is.
what I love about this work. Because with the horses, it's just the purity of the energy.
Do you have any personal favorite teachers that you've worked with, or people that you have followed or trained with or read about or anything like that maybe you do a bit of their work or you just like what they do?
When I started, I was with a gala, which I said at the beginning,
Mm.
and my mentor for that work, for the advanced work, was Dr. Joe Lancia, who was a psychiatrist in the States. And as like Joe had a private practice in New York, he taught at Stanford, like he was up there in terms of he was always traveling around the world and doing conferences and stuff like that. And that's who I learned from. But as much as Joe was scientific, he was also really spiritual as well. So he was my mentor, and he's since passed. But I always think of him, and in his property in the States, he'd have a rainbow over it in his picture on his website. And whenever I see rainbows, when we're up at Rotorua, there was that
Mm,
big rainbow, and that to me was Joe.
fantastic. Yeah.
Mm. So he was one. I've been doing some work with Emily and Dan when we went to South Africa this year, and I really enjoy the way that they work. And I was thinking, with Emily as well, she's one of those people that's really nurturing, caring, but she's also a psychologist. And with Dan, it's really, you can have lots of really good conversations with Dan about
Mm,
anything and everything, and I
yeah.
really enjoy that. I enjoyed sitting at the breakfast table watching giraffes in the morning having good conversations in South Africa.
That's right. You went there and you were doing constellations in South Africa.
Yeah, we did them morning, noon, and night. We did them on a plane. We did them on a train. We did them everywhere.
Green eggs and ham.
Yeah.
And did you use other animals in those constellations or was it just humans?
No, I would have loved to have gone out and done it with other animals, but we weren't allowed out of the vehicle.
Now, Mr. Lion, would you just come into this area of the field?
Well, that was one of the things. I don't think Emily would mind me talking about it, but she was worried that something would happen. When we're in South Africa, because we were on a safari and all the rest of it. And at one point, this lioness, like you're in a vehicle, and then this lioness just like walked straight past us. Like you could have reached out,
Well,
but nobody died. That was a bonus.
that's a big bonus.
Yeah.
And what's happening in the field now? I see one horse is going up to higher ground. Heart has moved. No, connection has moved. I'm getting
Yeah,
there. Tomahawk's even moved.
yeah,
Actually, they've all moved. Changed position.
yeah. But then again, Tracy, if you look, it's almost like a diamond shape. Now Tom's going to shift it. But Tom's also been really quite quiet during the session. Tomahawk, sometimes if someone's got any type of anxiety, he's the one that plays it out and he'll start galloping around the place.
I
But
was
he's
going to
been
say,
really
I have
good.
seen him running around the
Yeah,
field, running around, letting it all out.
yeah.
It's fascinating. Fascinating to watch.
And now Indy's going to go up and get some water. So that's usually replenishment,
Yeah. And what's happening in this corner over here with,
connection, or
no, this one at this side. Yeah.
cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where we're almost ending. I don't check the time. Is when we get to the west, that's when the session's finished.
And from where
There is,
I'm now, they're all in line, except
yeah.
for connection is in a different space, but it's like the other three horses are all standing in line.
I mean, if this was a real client, I'd be quite happy to finish the session because we've got, for me, it's a pattern between unique self connection and truth, and self
Mm,
acceptance has gone to the higher self, which it almost looks like she's heading towards the generational area. And then if she, oh, Chris is coming up now.
saying not quite finished yet.
Yeah. What do you want to tell us? And if it was a session, Trace, I'd be looking at three particular elements that happened within the session, but then I'm asking the person what they're seeing as well, because what I see will be different to what they see. But then
Right.
I need to know what they're seeing. It's not my interpretation. My interpretation is one thing, but I need to know what they're seeing and what they're feeling.
So what are the three elements that you would be looking for?
I think this one is that Tomahawk was really still. That's unusual. There was a lot of movement, there was a lot of rolling around and stuff like that, a lot of shifting. And then the thing that stood out to me was Mystique lying down in the heart area. And that usually means something significant has shifted in that heart area for somebody. Whether it was me, you, Elena, or whoever's watching, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Because people can be watching this and having their own constellation
Yeah,
from witnessing it. And for me, right now in the sky, I can see like a horse's head. It's almost like a Pegasus, actually. That's what it appears to me to be. You can see wings coming out the back, and it's like it's galloping through the sky above Tomahawk, quite a bit
yeah.
above him. Or it could be a
See,
dragon.
you could be here and you could just
Yeah,
and the clouds could be telling you stuff, you know? Because that's the other thing is that we look at all the tohu that come. But sometimes there's fantails, like we'll just get a whole lot of little fantails, and then other times there's like dragonflies, like this whole lot of dragonflies will turn up. And there's all these sort of different things, or you'll get a hawk that flies over constantly, or might be some magpies that come in and land on the field, and yeah, it's all sorts of different things.
beautiful. And I see that the three horses have come to a little party in the middle there on the
Yeah,
edge.
self-acceptance is up there.
Yeah. So how many people do you have working for you?
Elena, Marcus for free. We just get other people that come in, like we have our crew as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I have Simon will come in, like especially if I want a male perspective, he's really good. Auntie Tangi comes. There's lots of different I've got friends coming over from overseas, I'll get them to come in and yeah. We're pretty
Hmm.
sort of fluid.
Yeah. What's showing up? Who's showing up at the time?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like we had a family that had survived human trafficking and their first language was Spanish, and they'd been in this country for 5 years, and the mother had never been able to talk to anybody in her first language about what had happened, and what had happened was just horrendous. And then at the time, so I knew that they were coming because there was a lot of planning involved in getting them there and all the rest of it. And then who should turn up but a psychologist who wanted to learn equine therapy.
Who spoke Spanish? How fantastic.
So
Yeah.
the mother could actually unpack everything that happened one on one with her and the horses. Yeah.
Amazing. It's interesting to me that all of the horses are facing in the same direction, roughly. I can't see the ones
Yeah,
back over the far back. So they're going, is that south?
it's west.
West.
Self-acceptance is on the higher plane. Well, so is cruise, really true.
Okay.
Great, the horses like me telling their stories. So Indy would like her story to be told about when we worked with a veteran once,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd been working with a really good psychologist for 2 years, and there were three things that he couldn't get over as a Vietnam vet, and one was killing people, because when he came back and he had become a policeman and he had, was a really good citizen. So there was killing people that he didn't understand how he could have done that at the time. And then the other thing was all the people that he had killed. That was the second one. And because when they killed them, they would just kill them and leave their bodies there. And all they had to do was bring the jackets back
Yeah.
to say, like, they killed them. And then the third one was the men from other countries had relationships with the ladies there, and then they'd had children that were born. So nobody wanted those children, and the children were in orphanages. And the soldiers used to go and play with the kids. It was like being normal, playing with the kids, playing soccer and stuff like that. And um, their orphanage got bombed, and it was actually bombed by one of the American planes,
Wow.
and he felt like so responsible for it,
Yeah.
and that he couldn't move beyond that. And why he was triggered was because I can't remember how many years ago, but they suddenly, when all those Vietnam vets came, it was like they didn't do anything, and it was like a real dishonor to be there. So it was like they just came home and just got into their jobs and stuff. And then um 10, 15 years ago, whenever it was, they suddenly decided to honor them. And he would end up, if a car backfired, he would end up in a fetal position on the pavement crying. He
Yeah.
was hitting his wife in his dreams at night, like having such a lot, the stuff was coming back up, and he was just kept hitting her. And then he was so depressed he couldn't go to his job or do anything, so it was really affecting him. And they came up to the horses early, him and his wife. Indy was in the yard, and he had a moustache. And horses don't have hands, so they explore with their mouth. And he went out to the yard to see her, and she just went up to him and she was exploring with her mouth his moustache. It was really funny, and he really liked it. And then when he went into the paddock, and we'd set up this whole acceptance alley, we'd talked about it a lot and what we were doing and how we were going to do it. And the acceptance alley, there's the pod where the situation was, and then you move on through that to the acceptance of it. And it might take an hour or 2 hours, however long it takes. And so we had 3 different pods set up. First of all, he wanted to with Indy, and he wanted to work with her because she was the one that had connected with him initially. But Indy is self-acceptance, so she only comes in when she wants to come in. We can't make them. We could put halters on them and make them do stuff, but I don't want to do that. And the other thing with her is she's on like the Jenny Craig program. So we always have to have them in a starvation paddock as such with no grass. And then when they come into the therapy paddock, there's lots of grass. So they want to eat grass and do what they do. And he wanted to pick her. And I thought, oh, I just hope she wants to come, like she is the lead mare. She does what she wants to do. And I didn't want to force her, and he didn't want to force her in any way. And, I'm like, trust in the process, and I hope it works, but please, horse, come, please, please, please. And she did, thankfully. And we didn't use any coercion. She just joined up with us. And so we went into the first pod, and we'd made these sacks, and they had like stab wounds in them. And he came to the realization that, that's what they do in war. They teach you to kill people. It's the
Yeah.
whole mindset part of it. So that one was pretty easy. He moved on to the acceptance part of that. He talked about that. And then we moved on to where the soldiers' uniforms. And what I didn't realize is I'd gone to the op shop and just got these uniforms, but they were proper Vietnam ones, and I didn't know that. And then we'd scattered them, and he'd picked them up, and he put them back together, folded them all up, and just like honoured each death. Yeah, it was really
Well, that
beautiful.
makes me feel, I feel that, I really feel that in my throat actually, that,
Yeah.
yeah, emotional connection to that. Beautiful.
And what I think I didn't realize at the time, which is something that happens with me, is like these souls see that they're being recognized and then they move through, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I probably took him a good hour. Do you know what I mean? Just sitting there with that and his process and what he was feeling. And then
yeah,
the third one was he felt responsible for that orphanage and like, what do we do? How do we do this? So we just got, the little, you have road cones, but you get these little green ones. So we just put all the little green cones in the last pod. And all the way through this, India just walked with them all the way through self acceptance. And then they got to the end one and he sat there and she stood there with him, and we walked away because it was his process to go through. And I mean, we were there, but he could talk to us if he wanted to. And after about half an hour, she walked away, and then he got up and he just came over to us and said there was nothing I could do. There was nothing that I could have done. So it was a beautiful way to work through somebody's extreme trauma.
yeah. Without all the talk therapy, and it's that full, energetic, felt,
Yeah.
supported connection,
Yeah.
reconnection. Yeah, that's fantastic.
And I think talk therapy can work for some people, and, there's breath therapy, there's lots of different modalities that people do. And I think you find what it is for you, what
Absolutely,
you,
absolutely different layers. I've experienced talk therapy, and at the time it was what I needed. Yeah, absolutely.
and I think that's one of the other things is, with the group work that we do, like you do as well, is as women, like we connect. We sit there and we have coffee together and we talk. And I think that's needed as well.
Mm.
Somebody said to me once, we're all the aunties, we're the aunties that people can talk to, the older generation. And that's another thing that we do here is we might have young couples coming in who have got all these problems and we're sitting there going, yeah, you'll get through it.
It takes a village, right? And that's where,
Yeah.
yeah, go to the aunties and have a conversation, and
Yeah, who we are as human beings is to be in connection.
yeah. So what's going on in the background? We're coming to, it's 1/4 past, so we'll be winding up shortly.
Unique self is maybe getting a drink, yes. But quite often as well, when the session's finished, they'll go and get a drink, and then the feed shed used to be up there, so then they go and stand by the feed shed. You
I
know what
thought
I
you
mean?
were going to say they were going to go and help themselves.
Yeah, they're all like, okay, session over, we're done.
Yeah. It gets a bit like that, doesn't it? After a constellation, everyone suddenly gets really hungry. I'm sure the
Yeah,
horses feel that too.
yeah. But also because they get fed after every session.
Right.
Yeah, so they know the routine.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share before we log off here today? It fascinates me what you do, and that other layer of the field work. Mm,
I think try it if you want to. Whether you do it with the horses or family constellations, however you do it, just having that connection with self, but also in doing it, not just from a cognitive perspective, but really from a somatic experience. Because ideally, you want to be connecting the gut, which is our oldest brain, the heart, and the head, what should be in alignment. That's what,
mhm.
ideally, I think that we're looking for. And the integration of the human body, the spiritual, the emotional body, like all the different layers of bodies of who we are. And I think
Yeah.
you can achieve that with the constellation work because you might do one level, there might be, as we said before, a problem or situation in your life that's going on, but there'll be so much more that's happening. And you don't understand it because it might be 7 generations back or something. And you've got
Mm,
no knowledge of what happened to those people. Even something like grief, it might have been that's when your people left your particular area, in Scotland. And a lot of what happened to the not just the Scottish and the Irish, but you've been to Mexico. The colonisation around the world is everywhere. It's not just here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're all
And
carrying that.
it's a lot newer here than it has been in those countries too, which was something I observed. And yet, for many generations that are here, it's on layer as well.
Yeah. And it's clearing, we do have intergenerational trauma here. I get that. I absolutely understand it. But if you do want to do this work, this is a way of clearing it. And a way of clearing it in ways that you won't even know until you actually get into the process. And
Yeah.
it's healthy. You're held in a really contained space. And it's a beautiful way of working. And one of the things that I really liked about it when I started was being the seeker. And you can just sit there and watch the process unfold. Like when I did my first constellation with Mark, it was really funny because he forgot that I was adopted. So when I put my parents on the field and who I thought they were, it was my mum and dad who I grew up with, right? And then after about half an hour, I said, but is this, it's the biological parents, right?
Yeah.
That's who was really being represented. And because that was one of the questions as well that I had with Dan is, I feel loyalty to both systems, to the system that I grew up with and my biological system. And what he pointed out, and he said, Jenny, it's taken me a lot of years to get to this point, was it's a biological system where the DNA is going to have the problems.
The DNA, we can still have the energetics from the other two though, can't we? Especially if
Yeah.
we're very loyal to them. So earlier you said I have a website, but you didn't share any details. So can you rattle that one off the top of your head?
www.hearts.org.nz.
Hearts.org.nz.
.nz. But if you Google Jenny Horses, usually you'll find me. I'm usually at the top. And I see that in Dubai once, and they're like, are you famous? I'm like, no, it's just a small country. Yeah, Jenny with the horses, and you'll find me. Unless someone's got a good job technically on my website. Who knows? I don't.
So if you're listening to this, Google Jenny with the horses and let us know how you get on.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, go to www.hearts.org.nz. Oh, beautiful. And have the horses finished? Do you think they've done their dash?
Yeah, they're waiting by the feed room.
They were all waiting up there. Oh, thanks, horses. It's been so interesting to witness and to be in the field with them all, even though I'm not in the field, but I am.
Yeah, you are.
From
definitely.
A distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Elena. Elena's there in the background, tech support, nourishing support, and horsey support, all departments. She's the head of all departments. Thank you so much.
This is
Come
Elena's
around.
shirt. Yeah, thank you. From South Africa. You see it?
What does it say? Dare to be different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Trace.
Oh, look who's coming for a one last photo shoot. Who's that? Unique self acceptance. Indy.
Yeah.
Thanks,
You'll be
Indy.
watching us to see why we're still mucking around here, Trace.
Yeah. She'll be saying, come on, it's feed time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thanks, horsies. Yeah, I hope everyone who has been witnessing this as well as listening to this has received some amazing nuggets and insights. And really, I encourage you, if you're interested in learning more, reach out to Jenny and Elena. And yeah, what have you got to lose?
Oh, thanks, Trace.
Sweet as. Thank you for listening. Head over to Instagram and tell me what's resonated for you with this episode. You'll find me at Tracy.Cartwright. That's Tracy with no E. .Cartwright. Or head over to my website, tracycartwright.co.nz, and receive a free audio with the gift from your ancestors. So until next time, be kind to yourself and have fun doing it.